Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to show you how to use one of your wire photos and create this stained glass effect. Let's get started. First you're going to need to select an appropriate image. This is the image I selected, and I chose it because it has lots of closed shapes. Let's look at this one. This is not as good of a choice because you can see where the wires end here and here, and it creates kind of big open spaces. So let's go back to this one and get started. Over here in the layers panel, I'm going to click down at the bottom to create a new adjustment layer, and I'm going to go to levels. I'm going to bring my white slider in to the beginning of the white area of the graph. Bring the black slider in a little bit. Then I'm going to use my white eyedropper and click around on the image until I like the way it looks. So what I'm going for is a balance of lights and darks. So I don't want to blow out my shadows. I want those to be nice and crisp and dark, but I also want some areas to be nice and white. So now that I've adjusted that, I'm going to open this side menu and go to Merge Down. The keyboard shortcut is Control E. The next thing that I'm going to do is start adding color to this. So I will choose the Quick Selection tool, which is the middle option on the selection tools. So I'll click that, and here is my cursor. I'm going to use the bracket keys next to P on the keyboard to make my cursor a little larger. So I'm going to go ahead and select this area right here. So I'm going to, and there we go. So the selection tool did a great job of capturing this area. Now that I have this selected, I'm going to go down to the Create New Fill or Adjustment Layer icon, and I'm going to choose Solid Color. And I can choose move this slider up and down to whatever colors I like. That one looks pretty nice. And I'll click OK. But I don't want it to be opaque, so I'm going to go over here to the opacity in the layers panel, and I'm going to back that off so it's kind of see-through. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to show you is how to add a gradient instead of a color fill. So I still have the quick selection tool selected, so now I'm clicked in a new area, and I'll go back down here to the Create New Fill or Adjustment Layer button, and this time I'm going to choose Gradient. And I'm going to open this menu here and just start opening these. Maybe blues. I'll choose this one right here. And I'll click to the side to close that menu. I can change the angle of this if I want to. You can see what happens when I move this little selection around. I think I like that. So I'm going to click OK and reduce the opacity of this just to where I think it looks good. Now, quick selection tool, I still have that selected, so I'm going to go around and get more areas. So now you will just go back and forth choosing what you like. You can do a gradient or a solid color, do a combination of both. I'm going to try another gradient. This time I'm going to go for some greens, and maybe I'll choose this one, and I can change the angle of that gradient if I want to. Click OK, and then go back to the opacity and drag that down to where I think it looks good. Now what happens if you select an area, like here this shadow is really large and fuzzy. So let me try to select this. Yeah, and I want to get a little closer. So I'm going to use my bracket keys to reduce the size of my cursor and see if I can, oh, okay, so let me go to Alt. So if I hold down Alt, that's the minus sign. So, all right, that looks okay. So we have a little bit more of a challenge with these areas that have the fuzzy shadows on them. So you'll have to finesse your selection a little bit more in those areas. Okay, so now that I have this selected, I will click the Create New Fill or Adjustment Layer button. I really like the gradient, so I'm going to choose a gradient. And this time, how about something that is pink? Maybe this one right here. That looks really nice. So now I will back off on the opacity until I like the way it looks. Maybe something like that. Okay, now I'm just going to do a fast forward and quickly fill in the rest of these areas. Okay, now that I have filled in all of the sections created by my wire, I notice that I have some lines on here that are kind of jagged, and it seems like the shadow lines are kind of faded out and pale. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my original background layer, I'm going to click it and drag it to the new layer button to make a copy, or you could choose Control J. I'm going to take that all the way up to the very top so that it's on the top there. And now under in the layers panel here for the blend modes, I'm going to choose multiply, and that really created a big improvement. So it made my wire darker and it kind of cleaned up some of those jagged edges. So that is this project finished. So all you need to do is save it as a JPEG and turn that in. That's it. Have fun, everyone.